Munster and Leinster, folks, round 8 of the URC. We've got all these clashes with the rivals up against each other, and it's Leinster who get the job done at Thomond Park. They had to work for it, a proper arm wrestle match. This one, 13 points to 8. There's no chance of anybody getting 4 try bonus points here, although Munster pretty deservedly pick up the losing bonus point, and they were chasing this game right to the death. They'll probably be pretty disappointed that they couldn't make the most of the kind of territory and possession they had. And Leinster came out of the blocks with an absolute hiss and a roar, but maybe a bit disappointed they couldn't push on. But I don't want to focus on disappointment because the defensive displays from both sides were quite incredible. It's pretty rare that you see a game where both of the defense's tackle percentages are in the 90s, and the tendency is to look at a game like that and go, that was a terrible game, but that was a defensively sound game. So if you wanted a game where there's full of line breaks and tries and defenders beaten and whatnot, this ain't the game. But if you want crunching tackles and massive turnovers, this one's probably more up your alley. We'll go through some of the key events and the stats. You guys can let us know your thoughts. Munster, boy, were they conceding a lot of penalties early on, having to make a lot of tackles. They did manage to hold out Leinster for the kind of first wave of attacks, but at the first scrum, they conceded a penalty, which was a theme of the first half, and Leinster punished. They went for the line out, they went for the maul. Van der Fleer was kind of able to peel around the corner, and 7 points to 0. Great conversion from Harry Byrne. First try on the board. Really ominous stuff from Munster because they've conceded at home, as they're like 6 minutes in. But the scoring would kind of dry up from there in the first half. Like, Munster did miss a couple of chances in reply. They were initially shut down by Leinster's defence. Crowley tried to chew off a few too many metres with a touch finder, which went dead. Munster had 60% of the territory at this point, but no real points to show from it. And Leinster's scrum was really starting to turn the screws, particularly on Ala'alatawa. But that being said, Munster were able to win turnovers to keep themselves kind of in the game. Gibson Park kicking it out on the full before half-time did give Munster one last throw of the dice, but it was blown for a forward pass, which didn't seem all that forward. The commentators didn't really like it. It's kind of, I don't know, it's pretty flat. Maybe let it go and see how things play out, and if it's blatantly forward, you can call it back. But anyway, goes into half-time. It's just those 7 points. That's all the scoring. But like, Munster have had 54% of the territory, but only 46% of the ball. So Leinster more ball, slightly, but slightly more in their own half. Their line-out, though, Leinster's line-out is not good. Like, as good as the scrum was, the line-out was misfiring. Leinster possibly get more points, at least get themselves on the right end of the field to potentially kick penalties if they can get their line-up. But they're at 80% in the first half. Munster's at 100. The penalty count's 7 apiece, but 3 of those penalties against Munster were Ala'alatawa, because he was, as I said, really under the pump at scrum time, and Munster have had to make a whopping 81 tackles compared to Leinster's 33. Second half, the biggest cheer of the game, I swear, is when Munster won a scrum penalty. And the scrum was a lot better in the second half. I swear, even the try Munster scored later, I don't know if it got as big a cheer as that scrum penalty. The crowd absolutely loved that moment, although they didn't really get any points from that, and the next points would in fact go Leinster's way. Their line-out was still a little bit misfiring. Like, Ahern did really well to contest defensive line-out ball from a Munster perspective, but the next chance Leinster got, don't go for the line-out, just go for the poles, which they did to make it 10-0, although they did kind of directly allow Munster into the game in terms of getting on the board by fluffing their lines at the restart, then conceding a penalty, which Munster duly slotted to make it 10-3. So the 3 Leinster had to work all that time for was immediately kind of chalked off, although Munster went offside not too long later. So the kind of penalty exchange continued 13-3. Munster really started to turn the screws, though. They did do things like looking for kick mismatches, trying to get Gibson Park in a kind of hype mismatch with a kick. They were going through loads of phases, putting some real width in their play, which was really pleasing to see. They went left, shifted it back right, and eventually they did manage to get their try through Dan Kelly. It was a bit of a kind of bounce pass, but Crowley was able to pick it up. They shifted it to him. over for the try. They missed the conversion, but 13 points to 8. That is the final scoring of the game in what was, as I said, a pretty kind of low-scoring game. But that was a pretty sexy period of play from the Munster guys. They did keep chasing the game. The clock went into the red. It did take a while, but eventually Munster lost the ball forward. They'd had heaps of possession, heaps of phases. They got themselves deep into Leinster's 22, but couldn't break it down. I want to get to the defensive stats because they are worthy of a mention, man. Like, tackle count finishes 106 by Munster, 161 Leinster. So the script really flipped. That rhymes, which I didn't intend, in the second half, with Leinster having to do a lot of defending, but 94% Leinster's defense is class. I mean, Munster's at 91, which is also very, very, very good. Like, anything above 90 is fantastic. So both sides absolutely defensive masterclasses, but Munster, 9 turnovers, 1 to Leinster's 5, is also really worthy of praise. As much as you like hat tricks and, you know, clean breaks and chewing through run meters and whatnot, that is cracking stuff. Line breaks was 4-1 to Munster, so they probably would have liked to get a bit more pay out of the attacking ground they were able to make up, but not able to do it in the end. Tackle counts, man. James Ryan, 17. Joe McCarthy, 15. Caelan Doris, 14. Coombs made 12 for Munster. Farrell had 13 carries and Coombs had 13 carries, so some busy stuff. But yeah, Leinster get it done in the old grudge match in what was a bit of an arm wrestle. You guys let me know your thoughts on this one. Subscribe if you want more URC action. Take care, and I'll talk to you guys again soon. See you later.